Isn't it? Just as Hillary Clinton begins doing the counter mudslinging against Donald Trump, we have this breaking news. The Speaker of the House, Republican Paul Ryan, says he will vote for Donald Trump. This is just coming in right now, but he has certainly been waiting, leaning back just a bit and saying, well, let's continue these conversations. Now he is now saying he will endorse and vote for Donald Trump. We are back now with John Garamendi, the congressman from California, and we want to bring in Fox News military analyst and author of Scales on War, retired U.S. Army Major General Bob Scales. Welcome to you both. Let me first go back to Congressman Garamendi. You now have Congressman Paul Ryan saying, okay, I'm with Donald Trump at the moment, just as Hillary Clinton is saying that Donald Trump is temperamentally unfit and could lead us down a very dangerous path. Your thoughts right now?
It was expected. We've expected him to endorse or at least vote for Trump from the very beginning. He really cannot do otherwise. His reluctance, I think, speaks to the underlying problem that Trump has, most of which Hillary just laid out. The inconsistencies as well as the policy statements are you kidding me kind of statements. You just cannot be so inconsistent, so many flip-flops on very, very fundamental policies. Among all of the things we need to have in this world is consistency of policy with regard to our military, with regard to our alliances. We cannot allow the world to be unsure where the United States is going to go and what we're going to do. But Donald Trump is...
Sorry,
sure,
let me jump in. I'm not sure if, General Scales, you would consider this statement one of those "are you kidding me" statements, and Hillary Clinton quoted it. It's been on this show before, but Donald Trump has said, I know more than ISIS. I know more about ISIS than the generals do, quote, believe me. Does he? Do you have a dog in this fight? Do you feel that one might be better than another as Hillary Clinton lays out her foreign policy plan?
I have no idea, to be honest with you, Liz. I don't think he really believes that statement about generals, and I think he's amended.
Like he did. He said, believe me.
He's amended it since then. I'm fairly close to some of the generals and admirals and senior diplomats around Donald Trump, and the discussions that they've had with him in private leading up to his own declarations about national security are a lot more level-headed and sane than the sound bites that Mrs.
Well, then why
Clinton
isn't he showing that,
speech.
General? It almost seems like look, it's worked very well for him to be in your face and to be bombastic in certain ways.
Yeah.
It's gotten people on his side, certainly. You know, as we look at the numbers, he is the nominated man right here. You know, in advance of the convention, everybody else has dropped out. But why then, why is he not that measured voice, which, as Hillary Clinton argues, we do need as a commander-in-chief? Otherwise, you could have an itchy trigger finger when it comes to the nuclear button.
Yeah, well, I think eventually he will, and I would argue eventually he must. But just look at it from the other side for a minute. Mrs. Clinton portrays herself as this steady national security expert with her hand on the throttle. But remember, she voted for the war in Iraq. She's the one that backed the president for his pullout of Iraq in 2011. She's the one that caused such rancor with the Russians and still seems to be toadying to Vladimir Putin, not Donald Trump. So you can spin this both ways. Her opinions and her statements on national security are very much in line with Barack Obama. Follow the Democratic path over the last 40 or 50 years, and they're not different.
And, Congressman, she did make a very forceful case for the Iran nuclear deal, saying that she felt that if we didn't do it, we faced a far riskier future. There are a lot of people who hate this deal, and already in the wake of the deal, Congressman, the behavior on behalf of the Iranians is suspect, to say the least, disturbing.
Well, really? The fact that they are, in fact, dismantling their nuclear enterprise?
Well, they're missile testing. They're calling death to America, death to Israel.
Well,
yeah, really.
Yeah, rhetoric, we just went through a large discussion about why Donald Trump's rhetoric doesn't matter. Well, rhetoric is rhetoric, but the reality is that Iran is dismantling its nuclear capabilities insofar as their ability to produce nuclear weapons. It's happening, and it's happening on schedule as laid out in the agreement. That's extremely important because the alternative is serious. The alternative was basically go and bomb Iran, a major country with a major military. It would have been a very, very difficult, very dangerous, and extraordinarily costly enterprise to have to go in and take that out with military. We did it with diplomacy, and the Secretary had a major role in that, and kudos to Secretary, her successor, Kerry, who carried it through. It is extremely important and successful.
General Scales, this nation faces a lot of problems, the Iranians among them, but you know, there's a new study out that actually details that the Chinese have been buying up hotels, which we know, they bought the Waldorf a block and a half away from here.
Right.
To use it as an opportunity to eavesdrop on American businessmen. This is why President Obama will not stay at the Waldorf anymore. You know, this goes back to that Prague hotel, I think it's called the Jalta Hotel in Prague, where during the Cold War, this is where all the U.S. business people stayed, or foreign business people stayed, and they had eavesdropping equipment in the basement. You know, you've got the Chinese, you've got the Fed hacked. What's the biggest threat from where you stand?
You know, that's very interesting, because I was headed a delegation to Nanjing, China a few years ago, and they wired my room vertically with all the people who were there with me. And the lady who was with me was so frightened that she changed her clothes under a bed sheet. No, this is so typical. This is so typical of the Chinese. No, it's also, Liz, a very typical democratic approach to national security. You always pick the enemy who best suits the weapons that you have, rather than the enemy who is able to outthink you and outfight you like ISIS. And so, yeah, clearly the Chinese are being aggressive. But the long-term enemies this country faces, as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs himself said, are ISIS and Russia. Those are the top two, Liz.
Okay, I want to read this one more time because we have a little bit more about Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, saying he will vote for Trump. Here is what he has written on Twitter. I will be voting for Donald Trump this fall. I'm confident he will help turn the House GOP's agenda into laws. Okay, Congressman Garamendi, are you willing to work across the aisle if it were President Donald Trump? That's been the problem with President Obama. Well, there's been some intransigence.
Well, certainly we have to work together, and in fact we have worked together on transportation issues and several others. But the reality is the House Republican agenda would gut Social Security and Medicare, and it would seriously create an extraordinary deficit as they continue their significant tax cuts, mostly for the wealthy. That's an agenda that I don't believe the American public wants, and certainly the House Democrats would not want to go there. So, yes, there's always going to be conflict, but the question really is, where's Donald Trump going to take this nation? What Hillary Clinton laid out in her speech, those are all his quotes within the last 9 months. So where is this man? If he's anywhere close to those, it is, are you kidding, an oh my God situation. We just cannot even contemplate the proliferation of nuclear weapons. We just talked about Iran and the effort that had to be made to stop them from developing a nuclear weapon, but yet this man said that Saudi Arabia ought to have a nuclear weapon. Well, if that's true, you can bet Iran will have a nuclear weapon. So it goes on and on and on.
Yeah, it certainly does, and on until November, and you both will be back with us. We want to thank Congressman John Garamendi of California. Thank you. General Bob Scales, wonderful to see you. We appreciate it.